Hello all, welcome to the tavern. I do apologise for my tardiness. It's mainly due to the fact that I've been trying to, get around the whole streaming scheduling thing. It's been a bit of a fuck up on my end. I'm having some problems. I'm not going to make it your issue though. Let's see who is here today. Hello, Whiskers. You're late, Whiskers. Oh, it can't be stood for. Oh, I'm not happy, Whiskers. Hello, Slimes. How goes it? Welcome to the tavern once again. Yes, today I have a bit of an interesting subject for today. Is that I'm going to talk about some medical things. I'm going to talk about various sort of medical things, any experiences people have had in the past in relation to medical things. Obviously, keep the details. If you wish to share, keep the details vague. You don't want to share anything you don't want to. But yes, what experiences have you had? Any interesting surgeries? Any medical problems or illnesses? We can have a chat about it. Just you and us. Hello, Bjorn or Björn. Welcome to the tavern once again. This is the topic. Yes, it is the topic for today. Of course, I will be sharing too. Let's see. Slimes, medical things, eh? I nearly died from pneumonia when I was young. Oh, that's not good at all, is it? That's not good. I've had pneumonia before. Actually, it was actually right before the start of the whole 2020 thing. It was like right at the end of 2019. Literally, right as I left the hospital, bam, COVID started. Kind of got lucky on that one. Dang, Slimes, while you're alive. Glad you're alive. Oh yes, of course. Bajornus, Biophus. I don't even know how to fucking pronounce it anymore. Like, this name's getting ridiculous at this point. Yeah, I'm glad to be alive too. Well, of course. Everyone's glad that, everyone has, any experiences they've had with any sort of medical things, of course. That you'll get through it one of these days. Do you count mental health stuff? Of course. Any sort of health-based thing you wish to talk about, that is our topic for today. Anything you wish to share, anything you wish to talk about, I'm here and we'll talk about it. We'll reason about it and we'll see what is. And we'll see if we can't help in any fashion possible, even if it's just ironing it all out and just talking about it. So, if you do wish to talk about any mental health issues, as I said, keep things vague, and, don't share anything you don't want to. Bajornus Biophus is my character name in the tavern. God damn it. Well, technically, I do have a name in the tavern of Murky. That's technically my name. Anyone says otherwise is a damn liar. Such as Sir Albert Whiskers. Nice timing, of course. Gotta leave the hospital right at the thing. But yes, I'll talk about my experience with pneumonia. The current plague nearly killed you. Ooh, that's not good at all. I got the Shanghai shivers at one point. And I was dying for about 2 to 3 days, and then I was fine. I don't know what happened. I just walked it off. I was just like, I'm fine. Don't get me wrong, it was the worst. It was like, it's terrible 3 days, but like, but after that I was absolutely fine. Got infected before the vaccines, was visiting another country and got stuck abroad. Ooh. Wait, why were you in another country? What was cracking off there? Why were you in a different country? Well, I'm slightly interested now. What were you doing in another country? Were you a drug dealer or something? You some sort of drug dealer? Because I need to... A visiting family. Oh, any excuse, Whiskers, any excuse. Or something. Dang, that was quick. Yeah, I have a tendency... I have a tendency to do that. I've I'll actually circle this back around to my pneumonia story. Of that, I got pneumonia just randomly out of nowhere. Well, not randomly. It just kind of popped up. As far as I'm aware, it just sort of appeared. Suddenly, my chest started hurting a little bit, and I was just like, "Oh, it's probably fine." Then later, I started coughing, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't breathe, and so I got rushed to hospital, and they couldn't figure out what it fucking was, which was a complete waste of time. They were sat there, like, "Is it pneumonia? We have no idea." And so they spent like 5 fucking days trying to figure it out. And by the end of that 5 fucking days, they went, "Oh yeah, it's pneumonia." Cheers, you could have told me that earlier. But yeah, like for the first 2 days, I was in a terrible state. I was in an absolute terrible state. But after that, I started to perk back up a bit. The trip was scheduled a month in advance, and additionally with helping out the people. Oh yes, I'd like to. I'm interested in what you were, what kind of help you were doing when you're building hospitals. Okay, Bjorn. Okay, I think I suffer from trauma, but my previous therapist kind of denied it. How so? How did they deny it? I'm slightly curious. As I said, you don't have to share if you want. You don't want to, but if you wish to give us a few more details, then that's perfectly fine, and we can talk about it. I'm not a licensed therapist, but I can, at the very least, discuss things with my faithful audience. My full diagnostic was double pneumonia with aggravated asthma. Funny thing is, we had to change doctor because the first one was apparently saying everything was fine. Yeah, doctors have a tendency to do that. They have a tendency to sometimes just look at your chart and just go, I'd be fine. When in reality, everything's fucked, and they just can't be arsed to actually, look into it further. They're just kind of, bit of a dick about it. I think in full disclosure, I'll give you a sort of brief history of my, give me a brief of my medical history. I've had a few sort of things. As I said, I've had pneumonia. I've broken limbs, things like that. I have several mental illnesses, but people are commenting, and I will get onto that in a second. Well, basically, they said that the trauma only counts if you're in a war or something like that, even though a lot of evidence seems to suggest otherwise. Well, when they say trauma, I'm assuming it's referring to something like PTSD, things like that. I'm assuming it's referring to like post-traumatic, stress disorder. And as a result, that's a load of honkum. To say in a nice way, is because you can get PTSD from literally anything, from literally almost any traumatic event. You can have PTSD from it. My therapist was kind of a boomer. I don't mean to laugh at the situation, but that is quite funny. First is annoying, infuriating. I can't speak today. Annoying and infuriating, Bjorn. And for slimes, thank goodness you've changed doctors. Of course. If your first doctor is telling you a load of hokum, then you should probably move on to a different one. See what happens. Sometimes it'll improve. People have different reactions to different experiences. Of course, absolutely. Everybody has their own experiences with absolutely every single different piece of thing out there. Sorry, I'm just... I'm like in the middle of talking, and for some reason I want to yawn. But yes, as I said, everyone has their own different sort of reactions to any situation. One situation that might absolutely traumatise someone, debilitate them to the point that they can't even go on. But another person might be absolutely fine. They might just shake it off, walk it off, and be absolutely fine. There's no way to tell. But I think to say that you have to have been in, like, for example, war, to experience trauma, that is just demonstrably wrong. In my personal opinion, not my professional opinion, because I'm not an actual licensed therapist. I should mention this. I have been to therapy, but I am not a licensed therapist. But yes, as I said, I'll carry on my brief background. So you don't mean to undermine my experience? Of course not. Of course not. If I've ever said anything that would undermine anybody's experience or made them feel about 10 inches tall by anything I said, I do apologise. I apologise 1,000 times, and I prostrate myself before you and hope that you can forgive me. But yes, it was not my intention to undermine anyone or anyone's experience. Say person walks off difficult and traumatized by something minor. Yes. The basic point I was meaning is that. Sorry, I think I misunderstood. That is absolutely fine. Björn. I maybe I didn't word it correctly. Sorry, I don't know what's happening sometimes. That is perfectly fine. I know you're not from a native English-speaking country, and I know English is your second language, and so as a result, my accent might be a bit tricky to understand sometimes. I understand. That is absolutely fine. But yes, as I said, your experiences are your own. And so to undermine someone's experiences by saying it's not worth it, like this is not a real experience, that is, as I said, it's demonstrably wrong. It is horrible to do that to somebody, especially if you are a licensed therapist. Bjorn, do you feel a bit better now? It's not the language. I just thought when you said anything is PTSD, I misunderstood. Well, when I say anything is PTSD, what I was being a bit more broad with it. What I essentially meant was that any sort of trauma can give you PTSD. Can give someone PTSD. Something minor versus something massive, it doesn't matter. If it's traumatic to that person, then it's traumatic. It's traumatic, and as a result can cause issues. Of course it can. Of course it can. To say that your trauma is lesser than someone else is, as I said, it's horrible. I kind of grew up with pirated movies in English without subs from my dodgy uncle. Your dodgy uncle. Fuck it. Everyone does love a good dodgy uncle. Gets you all the good stuff. Go get that stuff. My dad was that dodgy uncle, except for me, he was my dad. Because he was always pirating something. He had his fingers in every pie. He'd be doing something, a bit of everything. He'd always be up to something. Like my first a lot of my first experiences with movies were pirated, especially DVDs. VHS, he couldn't really do that. But like when it came to like DVDs, he'd get you anything. He'd get you music, he'd get you movies, he'd get you TV shows. it was mental. Like I actually remember this very specifically. Is that I watched a movie, and this was when I was younger, and I thought seeing someone getting up in the theatre, because obviously the person who originally got this had filmed it in the theatre. Seeing someone getting up in the theatre or moving around and seeing it on the screen, I thought that was just part of the movie. And so as a result, when I watched it again later, a proper version, I was like, where the fuck is that? Like, that's meant to be there. And it's not, because I was an idiot. I am feeling better. I am glad. I'm glad that the conversation has, made you feel a bit better. Yeah, before Netflix, yes, the classic. You just go like, that guy's cool. Oh no, that's funny. It is quite funny. Looking back on it, it is quite funny. Because as I said, like, basically, all of the DVDs I had a big fucking stack of them. And they were just all, like with poorly written marker on like, basic bitch discs. Just said, like the movie title on it, like, name a fucking movie. And so, it was obvious that these weren't the real movies. Like, I didn't experience, what's it called? The piracy warnings until I started getting proper discs. I didn't know they were a thing until I've got to start getting proper discs. And so I was just like, what the fuck is this? Where's this piracy warning come from? What's this supposed to be? This is bullshit. Oh god, it was good. It was good for a chuckle. I'll give you that. It was absolutely smart. It was smashing for a chuckle. It's a perfect child thought. Of course it is. Like when you're a kid, everything makes sense, doesn't it? Everything makes sense in this weird little magical realm of things are being fucking magical, but in reality they're very mundane. But yes, I promised earlier, I'll give you a sort of brief background on my medical history. Give you a quick brief background. Not revealing any too details. Is that I'm not ashamed to say this. I'm not ashamed in any way to explain any part of my medical history. Is that I have autism, more specifically, high functioning autism. I also do have seizures, not the epileptic kind, the other kind. I can't remember what they're called. And I also have a disorder called the intermittent explosive disorder. Now, they all work together quite nicely, because they absolutely just smash things to pieces. They work together so nicely. I do take medication for them. I shan't tell you what the medication is. It's not really relevant. And I think generally, it is it's an interesting sort of thing to talk about in the case of myself. Is that I don't know. Also, I'm slightly worried, because this happened last time, of my chat breaking. I really don't want that to happen again. Oh, good lord. I did want to say, I apologise for sounding like a bit of a boring prude before in Chad's chat yesterday. That's absolutely fine. It's up to you, really. Because me and Nino, we started this off as a bit of a joke. We started this off as a bit of a joke, being just massively gay with each other. The thing is, both of us are actually bisexual, so it comes from a certain point of reality. But we are not actually in any sort of relationship. But yes, it's absolutely fine if you don't find that kind of stuff funny, that's absolutely fine. That's... it's up to you, really. Don't worry, there shouldn't be an emergency for me to attend to this time. Yeah, you leaving broke my stream last time, you bastard. You broke my stream. But yes, like for example, Bjorn, why is it specifically that you don't like that kind of humour or conversation? Is there a specific reason, or is it just not your thing? Not your type of humour? It's absolutely fine either way. It's up to you, really. But if it's if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But if there is an actual reason, you could always... Yeah, I know you guys are always messing about. It's not that I don't find it funny. It's just my trauma kind of relates to that. So I guess you guys got to me yesterday. I do apologise for that. I apologise for that, Bjorn. This was the point of why I was asking if this has any sort of, background to it. Well, if it is causing issues with trauma, if it is absolutely causing issues with trauma, I can always discuss this with Nino, and we can sort of bring it down a little bit. We can back it down a little bit, and we can sort of anytime someone starts talking about it a bit too much, they can always chuck it in the chat, but if it starts getting a bit too much, can always bring it back down again. We can always as I said point it in a different direction instead of telling people to stop. We're just like, oh yeah, let's talk about this instead. It's not. Now you guys shouldn't censor yourself. It's not really more about censor. It's more about picking on moments. Because for example, there was a Twitch stream where Chad and Nikki were watching Hell of a Boss, and that episode was just ridiculous. And me and Nino were just going hard in the comments, in the comment section. We were just going hard in there. We were just, oh god, I wouldn't recommend seeing it. It's a terrible idea. But we can also just not do that. We can also just go you know what? We'll make some jokes, but we won't take it too far. And as I said, we'll try to keep the because I think in some respects that the chat tends to follow me and Nino in this case. For example, if we start making these jokes, the chat tends to follow and make the jokes too. Which is perfectly understandable because, they just, they're having a bit of fun, but it's I used to not feel this way, just kind of started last summer. Is there any particular reason why it started last summer? As I said, if you do not want to share on this, that's absolutely fine. This is absolutely your prerogative to not share anything. You can just go, I'd rather not talk about it, and I'll stop. But if you do wish to talk about it further, I'm always here. At least for another half an hour. I'm kidding about that. But yes. But yeah, I'll talk a bit further about the sort of medical experiences on my end. For example, I've had my appendix out. I've had my appendix removed, specifically because, well, it was going to explode, and so as a result, I've had experiences with surgery, which is a whole thing. Thanks. Don't know how appropriate this is. It's absolutely there's only 2 rules on this channel. There's only 2 chat rules. It's don't be a dick, which is pretty self-explanatory. Just don't be an ass. Otherwise, Whiskers will send you to the Shadow Realm. And don't share any sort of personal details about yourself. And so that's it. If you wish to talk about anything at all, we'll talk about it. It's absolutely fine. Obviously, if you don't want to talk about it, that's absolutely fine. If you do want to talk about it, again, that's also absolutely fine. This is the point of this. The point of this channel is for us all to just talk about stuff, just discuss whatever's going on our heads. I might have a point of conversation to start us off, but generally it goes out the window pretty quickly. I remember there was one of my streams. I think we were meant to be talking about something specific, but about halfway through it started talking about bugs. The original point of conversation was not about bugs, but that's what I mean. Is like we're just here just shooting the shit. We're just enjoying ourselves. Just a relaxed time where I can discuss anything you want me to discuss, and you can discuss anything I can bring up. I threw that one off topic. Yeah, I've never forgiven you for that, Whiskers. Never forgiven you for that. I've never forgiven you for just ruining my streams. I regret making you a fucking moderator. I'm kidding around, Whiskers. But yes, I will. I'll continue talking about my thing. It's like, have you guys ever had surgery? You guys ever experienced surgery? Not everyone has. It's kind of one of those things that, like, some people have, some people haven't. Some people have had it a lot. Some people have had it, never had it. It's one of those things that, it's kind of a bit all over the place. But I have experienced surgery only once. I'd rather not do it again, not unless I really, really fucking have to. No surgery yet. As I said, like, not everyone has had surgery, and so it's always best to ask if anyone has had experiences with it. But yes, it's a very interesting experience because they'll book you in for the surgery, and they'll say, like, oh, it's happening then. Okay, I'm gonna say this and feel free to laugh because this was stupid. Oh no, Whiskers, don't do it, because I will laugh. I will laugh. Because you've said that, like, feel free to laugh, I probably will. It's like when someone says, like, oh yeah, don't laugh, and then proceeds to tell you something stupid or something funny, and then you're just like, oh damn, I have to laugh. I can't not do it. Well, basically something happened to me in me that made me feel real uncomfortable, stressed about sexual stuff, but I don't know how really to explain it. I don't want you guys to feel guilty for it. That is absolutely fine. If you don't know how to explain it, there's a lot of people out there. There's so many people out there that have so many different issues, but don't know where to start and way of explaining how they even started in the first place. For example, as I said, I have absent seizures, those kind of things, not the epileptic ones. And they're like a learned behaviour, usually from trauma. But I don't know what that trauma is. I wouldn't even know where to start talking about what that could be. Because I don't remember anything like that. That might be the very specific reason why it exists, but that's not the point. But a lot of people don't know how to explain their... don't know how to, like, explain their own sort of mental health. They don't know how to explain why this is happening in the first place. Especially if it's something that's not, like, you're not born with it. It's more of a case of it's either a learned behavior or it's a or it's something that's happened. But you should never feel guilty for talking about anything you want. If anyone in the chat makes you feel guilty because you've shared, that person will be getting a certain seeing to from me. Like I'll be personally sending them to the Shadow Realm, because this is a nice, comfy place for everyone to enjoy themselves, and I shan't be having any of that. Let's see what we've got. Almost needed emergency surgery once because 6-year-old me swallowed a nickel. Damn it! I knew I was gonna fucking laugh. I told you it was gonna happen. I've only had surgery at the dentist recently, actually. Ooh. I actually just went to the dentist today. I actually just literally today had been to the dentist. I was having a filling replaced. It was a whole thing. But yes, fortunately everything went fine and my teeth are sparkling. But if you would like to, talk about your experiences with the dentist, that's absolutely fine. I've got to stop saying it's absolutely fine. I'm just trying to reassure my viewers that their experiences are valid. Their opinions are valid. I just want to make sure that everyone feels comfy, feels happy to be here and talk to everyone. With everyone. It was a concern that it got into my windpipe, so they took the X-ray and found it wasn't, so I didn't need it. Oh, fair enough. Oh yes, if someone makes you feel guilty about that, then do tell. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Moderator Whiskers will destroy anyone that does make anyone else feel uncomfortable. Unless it's me, he can't destroy me. But if I make someone feel uncomfortable, that's a whole different thing in itself. I need to say this: it wasn't an event or attack that happened. It was just an experience in my head. But I still feel that's valid. If it's still something that bothers you so much, didn't actually happen, but it still bothers you so much to the point where it's causing actual mental anguish at the thought of it, then that is absolutely valid. That is still a valid form of trauma. Insert British dental care joke. No, I'm not doing it. You're not. Bjorn, you bastard. You bastard, you can't do this to me. You can't do this. I just went to the dentist. My teeth are nice. My teeth are fine. No, you can't do this to me. No, don't get me wrong. My teeth are fine now. I was an idiot when I was a kid. I was an absolute moron. I was just like, oh yeah, brushing my teeth, that's optional. I'll just not do that. And I walk away with like teeth looking like fucking someone had brushed my teeth with a brick. I've heard that's just a myth though. I've heard that England has better teeth. Yes, yeah, I have heard that too, is that American teeth are not actually, any better than the British. If anything, they're slightly worse. And so as a result, so it's just like, so where are these jokes coming from? Some of them make sense. Some of them make sense. Some of them absolutely make sense. The whole calling the English limeys. That obviously comes from when, back in the old, wooden ship days, to avoid scurvy, the English would carry limes on board, mass amounts of them, to avoid any deficiencies. And so, we just kind of got the nickname of limeys. But Bjorn said it. Take your message back now, Whiskers. You've covered up Bjorn now. Bastard. I've heard it on QI. I've never watched QI personally. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never watched it. I've seen a few clips. Never really watched it, sat down and watched it. It's like one of those shows that you kind of hear about, but you never actually... You never actually, I've never actually watched. So, for example, like Countdown. I've never actually watched Countdown. I've never sat down and watched it. The only time I've actually watched anything related to Countdown is I think it's 8 out of 10 Cats. They did a version of Countdown. And I watched that, but it was more about the comedy rather than the actual game of Countdown. Because Countdown is frightfully boring. I do apologise to anyone in the audience who doesn't know what Countdown is. But yes, as I said, my teeth were absolutely awful when I was a wee little pup. It's because, as I said, I just thought like brushing teeth was optional. What is Countdown? Why did you spell it with 2? Why is it like Countdown? Like really weird way of saying. You just did a bit of a typo there, didn't you, Mr. Whiskers? I think I've seen that. Yeah, it's probably ever going. You've got a big clock. It's got like the that shit. Like it's got that like near constantly playing because it's like they're constantly getting that clock going. And it's basically just like a word and numbers game. It's just a word and numbers game. Like you'll pick out a row of like 9 letters. Like you get to pick of like either vowels, consonants. And then you have 30 seconds to try and find the longest word you can in the row of letters. And that's where the clock comes in, is like they'll activate the clock. And it's like, it was really big clock and it just goes down. And obviously, the longest word wins. Longest word wins the round and gets you points. I don't know. Anyway. But yes, they have an actual lexicographer. That can actually confirm if a word is real or not. Like even if it's like really obscure, they can confirm if it is real or not. And then they also have a maths round where essentially you pick out a load of like specific maths properties like numbers, even like equation symbols and things like that. And you have to like get up to a certain point. You have to like combine them all together to create a certain total. Like a very specific total that's randomly picked to see if you can do it. And they also have a mathematician, specifically to see if it is possible. I don't know why I just spent about a couple of minutes there explaining what Countdown is. I feel like I bored my audience into the grave. Except for Whiskers. Whiskers is into that kind of stuff. Like he's literally that skeletal meme of just like, jokes on you, I'm into that shit. I'd recommend Whiskers to watch some Countdown. Possibly watch the 8 out of 10 Cats one. Because that one's got like comedy and Countdown. So like got a bit of both. Comedians and shit. Everyone loves a good bit of comedians. I don't know, what happened to game shows? Why is like every game show? I don't know. We've started talking about fucking medical, and I don't know why I'm on game shows now. Is that what happened to game shows? Game shows were they were really good back in the day. Like there was all sorts of different game shows you could find, like ones that actually required more than just answering a question and spinning a fucking wheel, or some of these random ones where it's just like you answer a question and then you can play pachinko. It's like, what the fuck is that? Like some of the ones where they were actually like, there was a show called Crystal Maze. That shit was amazing. Now they had a host and they'd lead you around, and you go into like certain rooms and that room would have a puzzle. Now that could be a physical puzzle, that could be a mental puzzle, and you have a certain amount of time to complete that, in order to get the thing in the room. And if you don't do it in time, you get locked in the room, and you're on like a team. And so like when you get to the end, the more people you have left, and the more of the things you collected from the rooms, the more chance you've got of winning the grand prize. I know, it was always interesting. Do some reality shows count as game shows like Robinsons? I don't think reality shows do count as game shows. I think game shows are kind of like their own separate things from reality shows. Also, I'm not sure what the Robinsons is. I'm not really like up on my reality shows. I remember the old shopping mart game where you need to collect a certain items to get money. I remember exactly that fucking thing. There was... I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called like Supermarket Dash or something like that. I can't remember. I know exactly what you're on about. Where you say like you go down to... You'd have to like collect every single item in this entire supermarket. And you have to collect every single item on a list to earn money. And it was mad. It was something like that. It was something like that. I'll tell you it's that. It's something. I think Robinsons is like Survivor, the one where the people do challenges on island. Okay, in that case, it's kind of a bit of a hybrid because like it is technically a game show sense of thing because you are technically performing mental and physical tasks to win something. But it is like a reality show in the sense of that you can. It is often about the stuff between people. Yeah, Supermarket Dash. I genuinely don't know if that is the real name. I think I might have lied to you, Whiskers. I have put out false information. Does anyone fucking remember Big Brother? Anyone remember Big Brother? No, that's the name. I even googled it. Oh fuck. I've been foiled by my own audience. But yeah, anyone remember Big Brother? Anyone fucking remember that shit? That shit was fucking weird. It was entirely a reality show, but you technically could win something, but it was entirely a reality show. And it was on like all the time. It was like they had like a 24-hour fucking feed. You could just watch them sleeping. It was genuinely like they picked some random cunts, like at least over here, the English Big Brother, which I think is actually the original. They picked some random bastards and just go like, yeah, bang. You live in this house, and you occasionally do like little games, and it's all about staying till the last, being the last man in. And you get voted out, like, over so. Wait a minute. Wait a goddamn second. Yeah, this cool one in Sweden called. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Where people did puzzles and challenges to escape this old fort in the middle of the ocean near France. I think it's a real old fort. I remember one called Fort Boyard. It sounds exactly like that. Of being in a massive old fort in the middle of the ocean. And it was specifically, you'd do puzzles and games and challenges and things like that to earn keys in order to earn money. And it was exactly that. It was. I think that might be the same thing. Yeah, it was. It was exactly the same thing. I always remembered at the end where you have to go into a fucking room, and it's like collect as much cash as possible before the tigers get released. You have to collect as much cash as possible before the door shuts and you get trapped in a room with tigers. Oh, that's madness. Madness it was. England seems to have created a lot of shows. We have created a lot of shows. The fucking Tigers. Yeah, I never understood why the Tigers were necessary. Why does the Tigers... You could just shut the door and say, they're locked in there forever. No, the fucking Tigers were why were they necessary? You know, the Tiger one sounds like Squid Game-ish. Well, that's the thing is, like, Squid Game... I'm going to outline this for my loving audience. Squid Game is a load of bollocks. I guess it was French originally. Possibly, who's to say? Squid Game is a load of bollocks. Because the characters weren't that interesting. The games weren't even that interesting. Like, one of them was just play marbles, and the person who loses dies. That's it. Or cut out a cookie. And it's just like, what was the fucking point of this? What was any of the point? Like, these games were really dumb. They were not interesting at all. I don't know, it just seems like everyone loved that show. And I don't understand why. Like, if you want a good alternative, watch Alice in Borderland. They had much more interesting, like, sort of character developments and more interesting puzzles. But yes, it's about that time. It's about that time. Games were that interesting, but a few characters, thought appealing, but again, half-baked. Yeah, that's what I mean, is like, a lot of the show was kind of half-assed. It's like they put effort into the concept of it, but they didn't put effort into the actual, it was like nostalgic games. I kind of get that, but like, what's the point of that? Like, what's the point of that? It's not that really that interesting, is it? Especially due to the fact that a lot of the consequences were just a man shooting you in the face. That was it. Literally just a man in a pink jumpsuit just shoots you in the face. That's it. Like, they weren't even good consequences. Like, again, I'll bring up a puzzle from Alice in Borderlands. And it was a puzzle where you have to make it down a tunnel. That's it. That's all you have to do. You have to make it to the other side of this tunnel. And you think, okay, that's not too hard. But there's a fucking tiger just left in the middle of the tunnel somewhere. You don't know where it is, but it's somewhere in there. And also, the tunnel's going to fucking flood if you don't hurry up. I don't know, they had more interesting consequences. You had more interesting things you had to deal with. To test the knowledge of old people if they had good strategies. Well, except, spoilers for Squid Game, anyone who hasn't watched it. Well, obviously it was all based off that old man who knows all the good strategies because he fucking loves those games. So, like, of course he made it that way, but... Yeah, I will admit the games were pretty boring. Yeah, that's what I mean, is like, they just weren't that interesting. They weren't piquing the mental capacities. As I said, a good alternative is Alice in Borderlands. I'd highly recommend you to at least watch the first season. Solid fucking show. I don't know, I liked it. I don't know, well, that's the problem, is that people tend to like these kind of things. They're kind of interesting. I've noticed this recently, that it's like the show of the week kind of thing. Like, it was Squid Game at one point. Everyone was obsessed with it. Was obsessed with Squid Game, and then suddenly it just went out the window. No one cares about it anymore. Currently, it's The Last of Us. It's the new hotness. Everyone's talking about it. But give it about a week. Once the show's finished, people will just stop giving a shit, and they'll just move on to the new hotness. And I don't like falling into that. But anyway, we have made it to the last 10 minutes. I went a bit over though. We have made it to the last 10 minutes of the stream. And so as a result, I would like everybody to fire their best questions they've got. The best questions, the best statements, the best jokes they've got at me for 10 minutes straight. I want it all. You've had 50 minutes to think up all these good ones. So I want you to fire as many things you've got at me. And I will address them as quickly as possible. I mean, I didn't like it because it was trendy or whatever. I rarely watch shows anyway. Well, that's a fair opinion. I'm not a big show watcher myself. I don't like there's a lot of shows that I haven't watched. I just don't care. I just don't care. I'm just like, ugh, I don't care. How do you feel about mobile games? I like them in a sense. I don't like most of them. I like the good sort of. There's the occasional ones that are quite nice. I've got one on my phone. Let me see if I can find what it's called. I will inform you all. It's one called Card Thief. That one's a good one. It's like a card game, but you're like, I'd recommend it. It's good game. Oh Lord, what can I say? Oh no, come on, Spoon. You've had like a whole 50 minutes to try and think of some good solid questions. So yes, Card Thief is a good mobile game, and another one called Black Border. That one's another solid one. Ever played the old Gameloft games? I don't know what they are. You may have to give me more information. You may have to give me more information of what they are, because currently I've got nothing. When can we buy beers at this tavern? Well, happy hour is from between 9 p.m. and 9:01. So, unfortunately, I believe you have just missed it. That's... If this channel ends up getting, like, big enough, I may make my own brew. The Murky Kraken brew, that kind of stuff. Okay, they were a whole mobile gaming company that made copies of console games. They had racing ones, COD ones, and Halo ones. That's very odd. Like, could you play Halo or Call of Duty on your mobile phone? Would you want to do that? Because that seems very, very balked. Try to play that with a touchscreen. Don't get me wrong. I've got a copy of Sonic 1 on my phone. Just in case I want to play it, because I quite like Sonic. I also did have a copy of Rayman, like the original Rayman. But that game is a fucking nightmare to try and control with a touchscreen. Gun games or swordy games? I do quite like a good bit of swordy games. I'm quite partial to a swordy game myself. Actually, one of my more favourite multiplayer games is a game called For Honor, which is all about like sword and board and that, swinging swords, bashing people up the head with stuff, It's a good bit of fun. But don't get me wrong, I do quite like a bit of gun games as well. I'm not exactly against them, but I prefer sword games. The best ones were, in my opinion, of course, were Nova Series, Halo copy. It was actually pretty fun. They had a great multiplayer campaign for the third part. Also great graphics. That's, well, good on them. Other than the fact that, it was a Halo copy, but whatever. Current mobile games are just getting better than the 2012 Gameloft. Yeah, but they also not. Because so many mobile games these days are just absolute tosh. For Honor is great. Yes, it is. I cannot deny that. Hey, Bjorn, depending on Oh, graphics-wise, I meant. Oh, of course, Mr. Whiskers. Yes, For Honor is good. Depending on what console you play on, depending on what you play on, like do you play on consoles? Do you play on the PC? It's like we could have a game of For Honor at some point. Count yourself lucky if you do. I play a mean Shigoki. You can't stop me. I actually do. I'll not fucking lie on this one. I do play a fucking mean, and I mean mean, fucking Tiandi. Oh. My 8-year-old cousin is a bit addicted to Roblox. Oh, madness. It's madness. I fucking hate that. What the fuck is Roblox? Also, yeah, it does suck that the Halo copy, but however, it was fun to something more than Roblox. Fair enough, you just slandering Roblox. There is always the Vampire Falls group. I don't know what that is. I feel so old. I don't know what anything is. I have it on PlayStation. Well, that is you are quite in luck, Mr. Bjorn. Is that I do also have it on PlayStation. I do also have it on PlayStation. And so, as a result, I may have to get in contact with you after the stream. And we may become friends on PlayStation so we can play a bit at some point. Oh, you lucky bastard. You get to witness my Shigoki skills. I've been good with a bunch of characters last time I played. I like the monk. Oh, yes, the Shaolin. He's just got the power of stick. The power of big stick. Okay, well, Vampire Falls is on mobile and PC via Steam. It's kind of an open world RPG with some funny dialogue. Fair enough. May have to actually check it out on Steam. May have to write that down somewhere if I have a piece of paper. I don't have a fucking piece of paper. One sticky boy. They reworked him a while ago. They reworked that bastard a while ago. And they absolutely did. They absolutely did some smashing things to him. Vampire. Alright, wrote that down for you, Mr. Whiskers, and I'll check out Vampire Falls on Steam, see if there's anything interesting going on in there. Yes, it would be fun. Might not have time for it though. That's, as I said, we can. I'll send you any information you require, and we can just get to find an opportunity when I'm not busy, when you're not busy, and we'll have a game. We'll have a few duels or something, and we'll have a bit of fun. But that is about it for today. And so I would like to thank all of you for turning up, for having an ale, messing with the snooker table, having some fun. And as per usual, I shan't ask for likes, subscriptions, anything like that. I think that it is just great that people are turning up and they're having a good bit of fun. And I'll quickly field Bjorn's last question. Worst character For Honor? Ooh, that's... Oh, you can't do this to me. You can't do this. I've got to remember now. I've got to remember that. Highlander's pretty shit. Highlander's a bit shit. I'm not a big fan of Highlander. Like, I like him, I just don't like his moveset. It's just a bit shit. Jake, just like your own stream as well. One free like. Now off to the Riddle Dungeons. Okay, and I'm thankful that everyone was here, and I shall see you all next time.